Welcome in for another edition of the Morning Espresso presented by our friends at Oglethorpe University, Atlanta's premier undergraduate learning experience and soccer powerhouse. I'm Jason Longshore for the SDH Network. Here's some of the soccer news you need to know for Monday, April 14th. You probably already know this by now, but it was not a fun day at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Saturday afternoon. Atlanta United lost 1-0 to the New England Revolution. Penalty for Carlos Heel. Crossbar hit, post hit, couple of goals chalked away. Just a really frustrating day at the office where Atlanta should have won and did not get anything out of the match. That means 3 games at home and you picked up 4 points. And it means that, according to the points tally, Atlanta United's off to its worst start in club history. And it's weird. Mike Conti said it on the broadcast. It doesn't feel like it's the worst Atlanta United team that we've seen. I don't feel that at all. I would not have guessed that it was the worst start until Mike said that it was. We've seen too much good from this team to feel like this is the worst Atlanta United team, but the record is what the record is. And I think that's where the frustration is. You see the high end of what this team can be, and they're not matching that consistently enough. And that is a challenge, and that's a challenge for Ronnie Dyla and the coaching staff. It's a challenge for the locker room as well, and I think that's the other part of this. It's always easy to yell about the coach, and I know narratives are already up and rolling, and memos went out, I guess, and storylines are being developed. I get it. It's part of the gig. It's understandable, but there needs to be a conversation about performing on the field, and we're seeing chances being created and big chances being created and goals not being scored from that. I had this conversation much earlier in the season about the very good starts that the team was having, but they weren't getting enough to show for those good starts. It's the same thing. You're not producing enough on the field, and then there's been mistakes the other way. To me, this is not about tactics. This is not about shape. This is not about who's playing what position. I know that's an easy one. A lot of people are running with that too. I don't think it's about those things. I honestly think it's about producing in moments. And whether that is converting on a goal scoring opportunity, especially a big one, it's that final pass to create that goal scoring opportunity, which hasn't been much of an issue for this team. Or it's about making the defensive play that needs to be made or not giving the opponent a gift. It's down to performance for me. And I think you get into a situation now where you need 2 things. You need better individual performances in the moments that matter. And players who are going to give you that, regardless of their resume, need to be on the field. And players who are not consistently giving you that performance need to watch from the bench. And that's not an easy decision to make. It really isn't. You can say that it is. You can look at it from the outside that it is, and you can play a video game and say that it is, but that's not how the real world works. It's not an easy decision. And two, I think you need to see an emotional reaction, and that's always a fine line. And I know in this country, especially, I think we way too often frown upon that. Whereas if you look at the game in South America and some European countries, although Europe in some countries frown on this as well. In South America, you look at how that game was going on Saturday and it's getting away from you and it's frustrating and the opponent is kicking you, and I mean they committed 10 fouls from the 40th minute to the 60th minute with one yellow card. You're not getting any support from persistent infringement at this point. They're just fouling you to break up the play and they're getting away with it. My complaint was the persistent infringement could have changed the way the game played out at the end, where Yusuf, for example, isn't going to be able to make a yellow card tackle to break up a promising attack because he should have already been on a yellow. Odaruti very well could have been sent off, and he wasn't. When those things start to happen and things are going against you and the game's going against you, whether it's the opponent, the referees, what have you, there has to be an emotional reaction to change it. Miami does this. Philadelphia does this. Quite a few other teams in the league do this. Atlanta needs to do it. That emotional reaction can come out in a lot of different ways. It can be a hard tackle, especially at home. How often do you hear the crowd roar when Bartosz Szlich or Tristan Muyumba go in for a good tackle and win the ball? Even if you don't win the ball and you send somebody flying, that gets an emotional reaction out of the team. It gets an emotional reaction out of the crowd. You need those moments. When one of your players gets decked, get in the opponent's face. Brooks Lennon got rammed into from behind by Peyton Miller. I thought it was cheap. Lennon's going up for a header, and Miller hits him from behind, defenseless position. Probably would have been flagged in the NFL. And there wasn't a reaction to it. These things need to change. And that's a smaller issue. To me, the bigger issue is put the ball in the back of the net. Don't make the defensive mistakes that are leading to goals, and you're automatically in a better place. And that's down to individual moments. But the bigger issue is that emotional reaction of things are not going our way. We have to force a change. Force it. Sometimes you force that by a hard tackle. Sometimes you force that by creating a confrontation with a player who just decked your teammate. Sometimes you force that by that, the body language. You force that with the body language towards the crowd of let's go, get up, make some noise for us. All these different things are part of the issue. But the biggest issue is you've got to get more wins on the board. Now you got to go twice out on the road to do it at Philadelphia and at Orlando. Two very good teams this season. And we'll see what this week of training looks like for Atlanta United. They are back in front of the media anyway on Tuesday. We'll be there for Training Ground Dispatch afterwards. Madison Cruz and I will break down everything that happens that we see in training on Tuesday. Around MLS this weekend, Brian White, he is your goal scoring hero. 4 goals in the 5-1 win for Vancouver over Austin FC. The Whitecaps lead the Western Conference. They did have an unexpected visitor in the match as well. Maybe brought them good luck. A mouse had to be rescued from the field at BC Place early on in, I think, the 7th minute or so. Good work on Brad Stuver as well for helping rescue the mouse. It wasn't a good day for Brad Stuver, but he did save a mouse's life. That's something to hang up on his mantle. Columbus, they beat St. Louis City 2-1. They lead the Eastern Conference. They're 5-0-3. The Crew and Inter Miami are the only unbeaten teams left in MLS. They play Saturday at Huntington Bank Field in Cleveland, which will be a very interesting match on a lot of different fronts. Lionel Messi expected to be there for that one. He made it to Chicago and Soldier Field with Miami against the Fire. 62,358 fans at Soldier Field, the most to watch any Chicago Fire match in franchise history. Game finished scoreless. Javier Mascherano didn't shake hands with Greg Berhalter afterwards. Berhalter downplayed it, said he was probably frustrated about the game. I, you know, I don't like that. We've had this conversation before at various stages of Atlanta United's history. I'm not a fan of it. I would hope that that would get corrected, or at least a word would be given back and forth that it wasn't anything that happened in the match or whatever. It wasn't personal. We'll see. But a scoreless draw for that. Chicago is a better team than they've been in the past under Greg Berhalter. Are they ready to take that big next step yet? I don't think so, but they're right around it. They could get there. They're close. Portland is taking that next big step right now. 5 straight without a loss. Kevin Kelsey scored in each half. The Timbers beat Sporting Kansas City 4-2 yesterday. At the Generation Adidas Cup tournaments in Florida, Atlanta United's U16s, they've got a big game today at 10 a.m. against group leader San Jose. They're trying to advance to the knockout rounds. They need a win in that one. The U18s, they've been led by Isaiah Vicenti's goals. The Puerto Rican Youth International, they have won their first 2 games. They'll also face the Earthquakes today. That's at 4:30. They hope to finish the group stage unbeaten. They've been great so far this season and great in the GA Cup. Let's bounce over to Europe. Liverpool, they beat West Ham 2-1 yesterday. 45 goals and assists on the season. Mo Salah has broken the record for most goal contributions in a Premier League season, and they're not done yet. This comes just days after he signs a new 2-year deal with Liverpool. I don't know if he can maintain this level for a whole lot longer, but if he can be even close to it, Liverpool got a steal with this 2-year contract. It's tough. I wonder if there's going to be a drop off in where it comes, but that's incredible. 45 goals and assists so far this season. More to come. Incredible year for Mo Salah, an incredible year for Liverpool as they're going to win the Premier League title. Eddie Howe, he remains in the hospital. It's an unspecified illness. He was well enough to watch on TV yesterday as Newcastle beat Manchester United 4-1. Jason Tyndall, the assistant who took over for Eddie Howe, said he was not able to offer an update on his condition. Said that he had gotten a post-match text from the manager, said he'd been texting with Eddie while he's in the hospital. Eddie became unwell in the middle of last week and was absent from training for 3 days, was admitted to the hospital on Friday night. He's been undergoing tests. Hopefully nothing serious, and hopefully Eddie Howe will be able to get back to his Newcastle team that right now is in fourth in the Premier League race. You look at the Champions League race. That win for Newcastle gives them a 2-point advantage on Chelsea, who's in sixth. Remember, 5 teams from the Premier League will go to the Champions League next season. Liverpool's going, Arsenal's going. Then it's up for grabs. Nottingham Forest is on 57 points. Newcastle's on 56. Man City's on 55. That's your top 5. Chelsea's on 54. Aston Villa's on 54. Villa's won 4 in a row. Fulham is on 48. They've got a game in hand. That game is today against 10th place Bournemouth, who's on 45 points. A winner in that one, especially if it's Fulham, keeps decent Champions League hopes alive for them. If Bournemouth wins, they're still alive, but it is a little more difficult with 6 games to go after today. There's 7 games to go in La Liga in Spain. The battle for the title, it's down to Barcelona and Real Madrid. Atleti is still in the mix, but they'd need a little bit of a miracle to get there. Both teams won against relegation-threatened teams on the weekend at 1-0. Barca have a 4-point advantage over Real Madrid. Kylian Mbappe was handed his first red card in a Madrid shirt with a horrific challenge on Alaves' Antonio Blanco. It's been written up in the report, according to reports in Spain, as a challenge for the ball. It was in no way a challenge for the ball. It should have put Mbappe at risk of potentially missing the Copa del Rey final against Barcelona because of violent conduct. It is going to be treated as a challenge for the ball, which puts you in a 1 to 2 game suspension category as opposed to a 2 to 4. Awful, awful challenge. He's apologized to his teammates. He apologized to Blanco. I don't care. Horrific challenge from Mbappe. Barcelona is going to face Madrid at home in Barcelona in May. Barcelona beat Madrid 4-0 at the Santiago Bernabeu earlier this season. So they've got the head-to-head advantage. They're both in contention in the Champions League, although Real Madrid probably going to go out at the quarterfinal stage. Barcelona probably going to continue. They will face off in that Copa del Rey final on April 26th as well. Luka Modric of Real Madrid, he's set to become a minority owner in Swansea City, according to Fabrizio Romano. It's not going to affect his playing career right now anyway. He wants to stay in Madrid. He's expected to sign a new contract with potential managerial changes at Madrid looming, possibly. That could change, but Luka Modric is going to become a minority owner at Swansea City and not expected to play there, but if he doesn't have a place to play, then maybe things change. Fabio Grosso, he was let go in France earlier this year. He has led Sassuolo back to Serie A after 1 season in the second division. They clinched their return with 5 matches to play. Silly season's already getting rolling. You've got rumors around Kevin De Bruyne going to Miami. You've got Luis Diaz of Liverpool being a potential Saudi Arabian target. You've got Manchester United reportedly looking at goalkeepers, and they need to. You've also got Johnny Cardoso, the U.S. men's national team central midfielder. According to reports, Chelsea and Bournemouth are willing to pay up to 35 million euro to sign him from Real Betis. Very interesting. That feels high, but Cardoso is a very good player, but that feels like a lot of money. We'll see. It is silly season. It's not even silly season. It's almost silly season. It's pre-silly season. It's already a little wacky, a little bonkers. See where it goes. Aggie Beaver Jones's 94th minute winner against Liverpool takes Chelsea's women through to the Women's FA Cup final. The quadruple is still on for Chelsea. Manchester United is who they will play. They've reached a 3rd successive FA Cup final. They beat Manchester City, who's dealing with a ton of injuries right now, 2-0. And the story for Manchester United is Fallon Tullis-Joyce, best keeper in English soccer, according to a lot of folks. Unbelievable double save in this win. She pushed the free kick from Yui Hasegawa off the crossbar. Then the rebound comes down, and she stopped Lily Murphy's header from point-blank range. in the 57th minute. Somehow the second save was better than the first. That kept City off the board. Manchester United got the win. Tullis Joyce, who is now a U.S. women's national team player after making her debut 8 days ago, incredible save to take Manchester United to that FA Cup final. This news has finally gotten resolved, mostly anyway. Daniela Caracas of Espanyol accused Barcelona center back Mapi Leon of inappropriate touching, and there is video of this. It's a little unclear. There was also reportedly words said from Leon to Caracas in this. Uh, you've had lip reading experts on it. There's been people who have interpreted the contact with Leon's hand towards Caracas in a variety of ways. It's not 100% clear, but it doesn't look good, to be clear. And Leon has now been suspended for 2 matches by the Spanish football authorities. She denied any intention of assault in this inappropriate touching. The case had caused a stir. There was an appeal process. That's why the punishment has been delayed um, since February. But it has now gone through 2 games. Leon did not play against Atleti yesterday. She will also miss a match against Sevilla. Barcelona has stood by here. Her and Caracas and Espanyol have not made another statement about it since it happened in February. There's reports emerging in Spain of a new title sponsor for the Liga F that could bring in nearly 20 million euro in a 4-year deal. Would be huge for Spanish football. Would be huge for the women's game in Europe, where Barcelona is one of the top teams in the world. Real Madrid is starting to challenge Barcelona, and you have other teams that are emerging as well. It'd be a very big step forward for La Liga F. Colo Colo in Chile, they're going to be forced to play at least their next 2 home Copa Libertadores matches behind closed doors after last Thursday's tragedy that saw 2 fans lose their lives in fan violence prior to the match against Fortaleza, trying to get into there were a group of fans trying to get into the stadium without tickets. In the ensuing melee, 2 teenage fans lost their lives. That match also was not completed. Fans invaded the field in the second half after the word began to spread about the deaths and about possible police involvement. There were anti-police chants going on after that, and then fans rushed the field. So that game has not been completed. Have not heard an update on what happens with that match in the Libertadores. You're also expected to see the Chilean League force Colo Colo to play behind closed doors. Their weekend match against their rivals, Universidad de Chile, that was postponed. In CONMEBOL's U17 championship, Brazil defeated Colombia in penalties. Both teams are headed to the U17 World Cup later this year, along with 5 other South American teams. That is going to be an annual tournament now. The U.S. has qualified as well. Looking forward to seeing how the U.S. handles the competition, and looking forward to seeing Brazil and Colombia and the rest of their South American friends in that tournament later this year in Qatar. That's going to do it for this edition of the Morning Espresso, your weekend catch up, some of the news you know about, some of the thoughts from me about some of it, and some of the news maybe you didn't know about. If there's ever anything that you are hoping we will get into in a Morning Espresso, don't hesitate to send us a message. Social media at Soccer Down Here. Please follow us. Send us a message there. You can also add a comment on this video at YouTube. And if you're listening to the audio edition or you're reading the newsletter about this and checking out things there, you can always send us an email, soccerdownhere@gmail.com. We'll be back tomorrow. Thank you very much for listening, and big thanks to our presenting sponsor, Oglethorpe University, Atlanta's premier undergraduate learning experience and soccer powerhouse. We'll see you tomorrow.